Okay, so now that the Vision program has been taught the part, you're going to have the robot go and pick up that part and have the camera recognize it. So what you're going to have to do is first set up 2 user frames when programming the demo program. Nobody really knows why you have to use 2, but you have to. So how you'll do that is you'll hit F1 for insert, scroll over to the right, and then go down to offset/frames. Then you'll go down to user frame NUM, press enter, and then you want to go down to constant, and then that one that I told you not to use in a previous video for user frame number 2, that's the one that you're going to want to set for this one here, for your first one. And then you can go ahead and program a home point for that user frame. And your home point, you're going to want to ensure that your end of arm tooling rotation is at its dead center so it can fully rotate 360 degrees in each direction. So we're going to go ahead and add a point there for that user frame number. And then we'll go back in to the INST menu and start a new offset and frame. And then you'll want to do your constant again and use that user frame number that you set when you calibrated the robot to the vision system. In our example, we use constant number 8. And then you could use the same exact home point that you used previously for user frame number 2. Now what you're going to do after you do that, you're going to go up to the top and run it in step mode now that you have the same point for both user frames. And run user frame 2 and then run that first point, and it'll show you it's an invalid user frame number. The reason for that is when you program the point, you have to have ran the user frame number. So since the user frame 2 number has already been ran, we can go ahead and hit F5 for touch up, and then it'll ask you for your enter user frame number for that point, and you'll want to say for that one it'll be 2 and hit enter, and now it has been recorded. So now you can go back up to user frame 2, run it, go ahead and say yes, and then run that line again. And now it actually moved to that point. You'll have to do the same thing for the point down below user frame 8. And after you've done this for user frame 8, it may be good to go back and run user frame 8 again, then skip back down and continue programming your points. So now that your user frames are set, you could go through and program a set of instructions. That way, say if you use a conveyor belt, you can move the part down, it'll stop the piece right underneath the camera's field of vision so the camera can go and recognize it. I'm going to go ahead and skip that part and leave that for you to do, but I already have the part placed underneath the camera, and so now we're going to have the program find what part it's trying to look for. So first you're going to want to go to your INST menu, scroll over to the right and then 1 and go all the way down to vision, press enter. And then you'll want to do the first option here, the run find, and then you'll want to go ahead and press enter again, or not enter, F4 for choice, and then scroll down until you find your piece name. So you may have to go down and hit next page and keep scrolling until you find the part that you have. And once that's entered in there, you can go ahead and move the cursor down to the next line and do another INST insert. Go over to the right, go down to vision, and now you're going to get the offset for that. So now what this has done so far is you are calling in the vision system to find that part that you had taught. And then if it is found, it's going to come down here to vision get offset, and then if it's actually and then if the camera actually recognizes the part at that point, it's going to be able to continue on. If it does not find that part, it's going to have you set up a jump label to be able to move to a different label, which is very useful for multiple part finding. So in this case, if you're trying to find this part first, if it doesn't find it, you can set that the label for that jump label right above the next vision run find. And again, we'll go ahead and hit F4 for choice, and then find our top part again. And then VR is just an indicator for when you're programming the points for that. Since it's the first part, you can go ahead and use VR1, and we'll go ahead and call this jump label 1, even though label 1 has not been set yet for our purposes. Now that you have done that, you'll want to scroll back up to the top. Make sure you've start from your calibrated user frame. So we'll run that from there, and then it's going to move to our home point, and now it's going to do the run find. Now we're going to run it again to get the offset, and now the camera has located that part in reference to the robot end of arm tooling. So now you can go and position the robot directly over the position that you want to be picking up the part in. And it's good to have it go directly above it. Okay, so after you program that first point, you're going to want to scroll over to the right on that line, just past the find, and then hit F4 for choice. And then you're going to want to scroll over to the right and down, all the way down to V offset, VR. Press enter and use the same VR number that you used to get the offset above. And we'll go ahead and use 1 for that. And we'll bring it back over, and then we'll bring it down to the next one. And so now we're going to just come straight down in the Z axis to be able to pick up the part. And then I'll go ahead and make that point and then do the same exact thing as last time to get that V offset. Okay, so once you added that last VR1 to the second point to pick it up, you actually have to go back through and run the program from the top in step mode from your user frame 8. So you go ahead and do that again in step mode. Do the run find, get the offset, and then don't continue on when you reach that line where you programmed its first point, because you're actually going to have to go through and reteach that position to pick it up. So I'll go ahead and move that robot back into position. The reason why this is because you don't actually get that offset when you first program that point, but now that the V offset is on there and you go and touch up that point, it'll actually remember where to pick it up. So we'll go ahead and touch up that first point. Then it'll ask subtract VR1 from current position. You're going to want to say yes, and then go down to your next line, bring that Z axis down again, touch up again, say yes, and then you could go ahead and move the robot out of your way and run it from the top of the program, not in step mode, to ensure that everything was working properly. Okay, so now that you see that at the same spot that it was, you could go and move the robot back, and you could go ahead and move that part to a different spot in different orientation. And you could again check and ensure that the end of arm tooling rotates with the part, and the end of arm tooling will eventually reach that position to pick up that part. So I'll go ahead and run it again. And as you can see, it went over like it was getting ready to pick up that part. So from there, at the bottom of that programming, you could go ahead and add your suction cup and other part or positions to be able to place the piece. let's say we have already done that and we want to go ahead and add another piece to it. What you'll want to do, like I said previously, is go ahead and insert a label that was used for that jump label on your first offset. So now that you have that label set at the end of the placement of that first part, you could go ahead and add your next set for finding your next vision and getting your next offset. And that concludes how to program the vision.